Hey, everybody, welcome to the Unconventional Therapist Guide to Nothing. My name is Dave. I'm here with my co host. His name is Greg. And today, Greg's got a heavy handed topic that he's going to present.
Yeah, I don't know why this is like a special topic for me. I really feel, Dave, well, let me ask you this. If you were going to specialize in something, what do you think it would be? Because I have my two areas which I have expertise, I think. And one is OCD for sure. And that's my big thing. And then addiction, I think, is second.
Yeah.
What would you say yours are?
Fun and wild times.
You are a funny guy. Yes, true.
Wait,
And you under
so where was this specialization when we were in grad school? I don't remember you ever talking. I kind of think we all shied away from working with substance use. So why I'm assuming your more recent interest and hyper focus in the subject is because of recent work experiences and how much exposure you're getting to this population,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And that's kind of like invigorating, invigorating a
I'm invigorated, man. Let's
you
just be
are
honest.
invigorated. I don't know if I like the sound of that. So it's kind of making you really have more of appreciation for the work. Is that it?
So it's making me feel like, not that I have an appreciation for it, it's making me feel like I get it. Like I understand it and I see
Oh boy.
a path out, maybe.
Wow. You're actually not realizing what you're doing right now.
What's that?
You're making that guy who put that review about us talking about mushrooms, even though neither of us
I
have
know.
ever done it, you're making it seem like he's right.
Well, no, listen, because I think I will say, and I've disclosed this in the past, I feel like at least one point in my life, maybe. Well, I definitely would have met the diagnostic criteria for alcoholism at one point in my life. I'm not ashamed to say that. I think a lot of people do. Um, so and I did have like it wasn't easy for me to kind of step away from that or at least like limit it, and we'll talk about that. Um, but so on this one, man who judged us for not for not being drug addicts and talking about abuse and substance, which we're going to do today. We have not tried all these drugs, but I think we've tried a couple, right? So
Probably
coffee's
a
a drug,
few.
by the way, you know?
Oh boy. So, all right. Again, I'm going to double down on you don't have to have been through everything to specialize in something to be able to help support people who deal with something. You just really have to have an open mind and an
Mhm.
understanding of what it is. And you have to have some experience talking to people who have struggled with it to understand what even draws people towards it, right?
Yeah, because if people were the only people that studied cardiology were the people who had like heart failure, there'd be no cardiologists. We
Right.
got we just gotta kind of like try our best. That's what we're
Yeah,
trying
you
to do.
have
Is
to
just
have
try.
exposure to it in
Right.
some capacity. You don't necessarily have to always have gone through everything, but you have to have exposure to it. But for this one, I think, and I'm gonna make a generalization that I hope isn't offensive to some people, but I think
Mhm.
it's true. And hear me out. I think a lot of people who work with substance use disorder individuals have had history with substance use.
Sure, and in some cases, I found in my recent work, it's like a prerequisite. It's almost a condition of employment.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
True.
I
So
because I
that's what.
remember
So,
in our grad school we had one or two people who were like heavy into the substance
mhm,
use world, and I know one of them for sure had his own history with substance use,
absolutely.
which is why he wanted to go that route in the program. So I thought that was interesting and kind of makes sense.
Kind of makes sense. Yeah. And I think that in a lot of cases, people become therapists because they've struggled with a little bit of mental health issues. And
100%. I think we've
so,
said that on numerous occasions, right?
so that's true. So, Dave, bear with me here because I'm going to go long-winded, something not too
I know.
uncommon.
I was like, you had to like warn us of that. I mean, I think we expect that.
Yeah, we expect that. But I think I have a couple of very important things to understand about addiction before we start talking about the diagnostic criteria and the actual drugs and substances, involved in addiction. So hear me out. The best way I can think to explain addiction, and I've given this a lot of thought, is with marbles on a scale. So picture one of those old-fashioned justice scales, just balanced with marbles on each side, right? Picture that in your brain. When you do something in your life outside of substances that creates pleasure, you have a cheeseburger or you have something that you really enjoy, marbles are added to one side, like a pleasure side. And then our brains will drop a few marbles on the opposite side to make things equal or homeostatic. Our brain likes that. It's that's the goal of our brains, is to keep almost a homeostasis, like a balance, right? Now, something unnatural, like a substance, gets on the scale on the pleasure side and weighs it down with artificial marbles. Your brain creates pain or lack of joy marbles and weighs it down with these artificial marbles. So that's one way that it would do it. And it does that in a number of ways. One would be like blocking the feel good neurotransmitters like, serotonin and others, even dopamine receptors. And eventually your brain stops naturally making the happy marbles, but not the sad marbles, right? So you can imagine the sad marbles get heavier and heavier and heavier on one side. And like when you get to the depths, the only way to kind of balance the scales back out, because your brain stopped making natural happy marbles, is with this artificial marbles. So like to feel even not even pleasure anymore, but to just feel balance, you need this substance, and now you're dependent. And the only way back is to stop completely with the artificial marbles. And then you're going to be in the depths for a while, right? Until your brain starts to have the ability to create the happy marbles again. So I said marbles a lot, and then I all this to say, don't lose your marbles, right? It's because we can start to see how that is hijacking the reward system, but it's deeper than that. Dave, I feel like you want to say something.
Am I a terrible friend if I say that that analogy was very confusing to me?
I I know it's hard. It's like think about it like it's confusing, but try to imagine that, right? Try to imagine your brains always want to keep balance. And then it thinks that you're doing things pleasurable naturally, but you're not. So it keeps trying to balance out that pleasure with pain. And then it can't naturally keep up with the amount of pain and suffering or lack of joy, you could just call it. So it has to, you almost need some external source to kind of create that pleasure again to just get balance.
We recently had some conversations about uh people's drive. Oh, is the Ikigai
Hmm.
episode about that people's like need for instant gratification, the quick dopamine hits.
Hmm.
I basically this is just another version of that, a more dangerous version of that. Um, people want that quick acting happiness, but it's not happiness, right? It's not actually happiness. It's a replacement
Hmm.
feeling of pleasure for that's like really, quick acting. and
Exactly.
and our brain just keeps thinking, like you're saying, it's getting that dopamine hit. So I guess what you're suggesting is every time we get that feeling, the brain then tries to balance it by giving us a negative feeling
That's
as
right.
well to balance it.
Yes. And then since
And
you're
then
not
when
getting
then
that
when we're
dopamine from
not
a natural source,
right, so then when we're not high, drunk, intoxicated, whatever,
the scale's unbalanced onto the
we're just
sad.
all negative because
That's
that
right.
that fake happiness, pleasure is missing, is
To
depleted.
That's it.
Okay.
And the only way to not get like you're chasing that pleasure. Okay. And I'm glad you bring up dopamine because to understand dopamine, you have to understand what it's not. It's a very confusing little neurotransmitter because all the other neurotransmitters affect how you feel in that very moment. What dopamine does, it's more anticipatory. Dopamine motivates you to get something that you feel might make your life better or more pleasurable. So it's not the reward system exactly. Like for example, when you buy a lottery ticket, that feeling that you have that, oh my God, maybe this is it. Maybe this is like my future, my goal. You buy it because it's pleasurable or there's something that might happen that could be good. That's that feeling of dopamine, right? So it's the pursuit molecule, which makes it the most important because we talk about how important pursuing things is. It's the go get the reward system. And when it's hijacked, what is hijacked is the validity of the reward or the usefulness of the reward. So it's something we talked about often. Dopamine is the feeling leading up to Christmas. It's not Christmas morning like people think. It keeps you moving towards the possibility of things. And when I say that, like that, it changes that goal. Like when you start using substances, it's 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 not the substance takes over the reward system because now the substance is in charge because you're just the only reward is the substance itself. So you're not thinking about anything else but that. That's how the reward system gets hijacked.
So this is obviously a heavy episode right
Mhm.
off the gate, out
Yes,
the gate. So we got right into this. And I want to just make sure we take time to pause in between and
please
process the things that are being
help me with
said
that because
because I
I'm gonna dive in one more time. So help me with that.
we got to keep this digestible for our
Mhm.
audience and also somewhat understandable and relatable for them. So we're talking about dopamine, and that's such a it's an epidemic in the world right now, that
Mhm.
dopamine seeking, right? And there's so many ways that we're seeking to get dopamine. And when we say dopamine, what we're talking about is what, Greg? It's pleasure seeking, right?
Yes,
Dopamine is what? What is dopamine? It's
it's a neurotransmitter that is driving you towards something pleasurable or something that you perceive that you want.
So it's signals given to
Yes.
the brain, right? It's like pew pew pew,
Do
right?
this because this will make you feel good.
It's make you
This
feel
will,
awesome. Not
yes.
even good, awesome, right? I feel like dopamine's a harder, it's more like it's excitement, it's
It's so
thrill,
important. It's so important. So,
but it also could be covert. Like dopamine, you could also get dopamine from like, all right, alerts on your phone,
mhm.
like an alert that somebody liked your Instagram post, or like just anything like that, or you got a new if you maybe alert that you got an email and you're like just like getting emails. Like it could also be individual, right? If you're a lonely person and you get like some social message alert on your phone, or on social media or anything, that's going to feel good to you. That's pleasure seeking.
It is. And what the scary thing about dopamine is it's insatiable just like substances are. Meaning, if you get 10 likes on something you post and you're like, "Ooh, this feels good. This feels good. This feels good." And you start getting that 10 likes on every post. After a while, you're like, "That's not enough.
I need
That
11.
doesn't do it
Yeah,
anymore.
no, it's true. It's totally
That
true.
doesn't do it
You
anymore."
get bored fast because it's not
Absolutely.
real. It's not even real pleasure, right? Because it doesn't feel. It's not. It's like that. What is it? Hedonic
Absolutely.
pleasure.
So let me say this then, because yes, you're absolutely understanding what I'm saying. Thank God. Um, so the reward system, real quick, and then we'll just get into like fundamental easy stuff. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter of the future. It's the only one. It's anticipatory. So what it takes from you is your values-based action. So that's when a substance sort of takes your reward system, it takes your values-based action. Meaning, remember when we talked about sin and we made it like it used to be like an archery term and it meant that you missed your target. So when we're trying to like guide our life, we're trying to like hit that target, and the target is like the things that are important to us, our values, our goals, all that stuff. What addiction does, it takes away the target completely. So you can do nothing but miss. To keep with that theological theme for a second, you can't do the target's gone. That values based action is gone. The only target you have now is that drug. So that's how it hijacks the reward system. And that's why you see people stealing out of their kids' piggy banks and robbing stores and doing this stuff that's against their values. That system is gone. It's hijacked. Now the dopamine is driving towards the substance. It's not driving towards what is good anymore. Do you see?
Yeah.
That's how it's hijacked. And I think that's what people miss. I think people think that dopamine is like it feels good, yes. But the feel good is in pursuit of whatever. That could be in pursuit of your gains of the gym, but it could also be in pursuit of the needle you're going to stick into your arm.
Hmm.
That's what dopamine does. It drives you towards that thing that you know is going to feel good. So, and it can be hijacked pretty easily.
You know,
That's what
it's
we're talking about.
I think it's also uh confusing in the moment though, because it feels we always talk about goal-oriented behavior as being positive,
Hmm.
but in when it comes to substance use or any kind of addiction, goal-oriented behavior is quite the opposite of positive. It's
Exactly.
actually the thing that's dragging you into the pits of addiction.
Yes, and you find the people become like if they'll do whatever it takes to get like and step on whoever it
Yeah.
really does kind of it almost like turns you into, we talked about this last time, a zombie. And by that I mean mindless consumption. You know what I mean? You just want to consume and it doesn't matter. You're not thinking about purpose or goals or family or heart or what's important anymore. You just need to consume and that blocks everything out. That's your goal.
Yeah.
Wild,
And
right?
it's interesting too because you lose humility, you lose
Hmm.
dignity, and you engage in things that maybe you would never have considered engaging in previously without issue because you're in pursuit of that goal. And if there is issue, it's minor issue because you
And
need to pursue that goal.
absolutely. And that's why when people do climb their way out of the depths of addiction, like for real, they really deserve some like respect because and despite and I'm not one of those people that watches intervention like, oh, they like did all these horrible things. Like we should like be their heroes now. It's like, no, I don't feel that way. But I do feel it's impressive when you're able to be in the depths because you have it's the opposite of hedonic pleasure. It's like anhedonia, like the impossibility to feel joy or pleasure without that substance now. So there's going to be a long while that you have to sit in that. And what's driving you? It's like your soul, like this idea of a future that you can like respect, right? That has to drive you.
So,
It's
Greg,
real
I
willpower.
just thought of a part two episode that needs to happen. So today we're talking
Okay.
substance use disorder, right? I don't even know
Yeah.
if we ever officially said that's what today's topic was, but we obviously got into it right away.
Yeah.
I think a second part of this episode of this topic needs to be the guide to recovery of substance abuse because
Mm.
that's a totally separate thing that we're probably not at the point that we could really talk about today. I mean, we can obviously talk about experiences and our brief knowledge of the recovery process, but there's a lot of things I think that go into it and long lasting things that
Hmm.
would be really, I think, helpful for both of us and people who are interested in this subject to hear about.
I totally agree.
So, all right, that will be a future episode for anybody who is interested in that. So, substance abuse disorder or substance use disorder, I keep saying abuse, substance use disorder in the DSM 5 has a criteria. And that criteria has, let's see, 11, or the disorder, let me rephrase that. The disorder itself has 11 criteria that basically falls under four basic categories of impaired control, physical dependence, social problems, and risky use. So the criteria is one, using more of a substance than intended or using it for longer than meant to. Two, trying to cut down or stop using the substance, but being unable to. Three, experiencing intense cravings or urges to use the substance. Four, needing more of the substance to get the desired effect, also called tolerance. Five, developing withdrawal symptoms when not using the substance. Six, spending more time getting and using drugs and recovering from substance use. Seven, neglecting responsibilities at home, work, or school because of substance use. Eight, continuing to use even when causes relationship problems. Nine, giving up important or desirable social and recreational activities due to the substance use. Two more, I promise. 10, using substance use in risky settings that put you in danger. And 11, continuing to use despite the substance causing problems to your physical health. So, as with most, you don't have to meet all 11 of the criteria, but I'm not. Oh, I made a mistake on the form that I'm looking at here, it doesn't say how many of those 11 you have to meet. So,
Well, I think what I hear you saying is
oh,
if
I'm
it's
sorry, it does. Yeah, I can tell you. Go ahead. Sorry, Greg.
interfering with your life, just like any other men, like you could have. I mean, when we talk about alcohol, that's the most insidious one of all.
Right.
We'll talk about that later on. But is it taking over your life?
Yeah.
Is it getting in the way of things? You
Uh,
know?
and so here's how you judge the severity of it. So one of those symptoms could indicate that you're at risk. Two or three criteria point to a mild substance use disorder. Four or five show that someone has a moderate substance use disorder, and six or more indicate a severe substance use disorder, which signals an addiction to that substance. So actually, you
Mhm.
prior to six, they wouldn't necessarily consider it an addiction to the substance. It sounds like,
No,
which
no, it
is
wouldn't.
fascinating. Okay.
It is.
So
It is.
yeah, so I mean those 11 criteria, like you said, yeah, it's all about interference with your ability to perform your daily functions in life. And that's the case honestly if you look at any, I think, addiction disorder, it's all about the same. It's typically, is it causing you some kind of impairment in your day to day? That's a big thing. So, yeah, do you want to talk about some substances?
Yeah, please. Let's get into some substances.
And you
Why don't
you
you?
you ordered this list, and I'm just gonna highlight here. I find it fascinating that you hit us off immediately with bath salts. That's the
Yeah,
first one you're gonna drop on these people.
let's jump right in.
All right. K2, spice, and bath salts. Greg, that's the first category.
You know what's funny? Like this spice stuff, I had it. That's super dangerous. There might be people who have tried that, and it's just like synthetic marijuana, but it is wildly dangerous. There's people who have had psychotic episodes that took a long time for them to get out of, or even triggered, dormant schizophrenia because of this stuff.
Hmm.
It's scary stuff. And bath sauce, I think, about
We
speak for
all know.
themselves.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
all know the dangers with that. Um, yeah, so Greg, why don't you go into this actually,
So
this
it's like
category right here.
they're synthetic drugs, these two. And we don't have to get into a ton of the criteria here, but they're dangerous and unpredictable. And that's what's different about these things. They look different for everybody almost. And the signs and symptoms, well, before you even say that, like K2 or this spice stuff, you used to be able to buy it in gas stations and it's just sprayed. It's like a chemical that's sprayed on herbs and smoked.
Why
So
does everything
smoke,
start in gas stations?
I don't know. I don't know. It's just it's dangerous. It can be. I don't know because you can find them in the electric cigarettes too, which you can also find in
Everything
gas
starts
stations.
at gas stations and then becomes a thing, it feels like.
Yeah, and they were kind of sold in gas stations as natural or quote unquote harmless products,
What
and
for what use?
they
What would
produce a
it
high similar to marijuana, a popular but really dangerous alternative. So what they do is they give you a sense of euphoria, like feeling high. That sounds all right. Elevated mood, altered sense of visual, auditory, and taste perception. Things are getting a little weird. Extreme anxiety or agitation, paranoia, hallucinations, increased heart rate, no more fun, vomiting, confusion, and violent behavior. Right? And that's just the that's not even bath salts.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean bath salts are mind-altering psychoactive substances. They're sort of like meth. And they're also similar to MDMA and cocaine. It's like this weird packaged, strange thing. They're not, there's products such as Epsom salts that like are often confused with this, and they can be eaten, inhaled, or injected, but they're not as dangerous. But they're dangerous like for your health, but not as severe, neurological symptoms as this.
I think when this first came out, everyone got worried, right? That it was like
Yeah,
all kind of salts.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Crazy. Salt's dangerous? Well,
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of. I mean, heart disease, but that's about it. So feeling high, sociability, increased sex drive, which is dangerous because there's like this loss of impulse. I mean, inhibition too. So you're thinking like energy and agitation, increased sex drive, heart rate, blood pressure. you can't think clearly. You lose muscle control. You have panic attacks. You're delirious, and you can often become psychotic and violent.
That's a wild
So
ride.
that's your bath salts for you. I mean, what that's just a strange combination.
But I
Now,
mean,
Dave,
this is also the thing that caused a man to like eat a person's face, right?
yes. Well, look, I mean, delirious, right? I mean, psychotic and violent behavior. You have lost control of your sanity, and now you're impulsive, and you're not grounded in reality.
Yeah.
And this drug is blowing up your amygdala, so you're becoming extremely scared and violent. It's just wild,
Blowing up
right?
your amygdala.
The
Jesus.
the medulla oblongata. That's
So,
why alligators are so ornery.
but here's the thing, like, how do you get addicted to bath salts when it's so out there? It's so crazy. It sounds like, how do you get addicted to something that's that violent and dangerous? Like, how do you
You
even get
know,
an opportunity to do it more than once? Is what I guess what my mind goes to.
it's funny. I don't understand why exactly and what neurotransmitters are playing off of, but it does say that they are highly addictive.
Yeah.
And so for whatever reason, your body is becoming dependent on these things. And it's probably, that rush of adrenaline high and that feel good. And then you're probably left depleted and feeling like awful. And just like that's why when we talked about bipolar, I'm not comparing any of these things, but if you talk about like a manic state or psychotic state, you don't see people in your office for that because they feel good, right? They feel like okay. They feel like they're right. They feel like they have it all figured out when they're paranoid and delusional and all those things. It could be the same thing here because then when you come down, you're left in a depressive state
Yeah.
and you want
You,
to get that back.
I think another interesting point of all this is commonly a person's first experience with something like this would have to be somewhat okay in order for them to want to do it again.
Yeah,
Right. So,
true.
and that's what makes it dangerous, right? Like if you do bath salts and you have an amazing time,
Mhm.
that's probably going to mean you're going to do it again.
Absolutely. And
And
that's
then that's where like, that the trouble happens. If you do it once and you have a horrendous time, you're probably less likely to want to do it again.
absolutely. And or if you end up in prison or something.
Right.
And the
Right.
things that's scary about these things, like you might only get one chance at this because
Yeah.
you might go off the wall.
Yeah.
So,
All
Dave,
right.
do you want to talk a little bit about barbiturates, benzodiazepines, and hypnotics?
Sure. These are prescription central nervous system depressants,
Yes.
often misused in search for a sense of relaxation or a desire to switch off or to forget stress related thoughts or feelings. So, barbiturates, an example of that would be phenobarbital. Benzodiazepines are examples are sedatives such as diazepam or Valium, Xanax, lorazepam or Ativan, clonazepine, also known as Klonopin, and chlorodiazepoxide.
Sure.
Sure.
Less
Um,
common. I've never seen that one before. But we all know our this Valium, Xanax, and
oh,
Ativan.
for sure.
And
And then
Klonopin even.
hypnotics examples would be sleeping medications such as Ambien and Sonata.
And also pocket watches.
What is that? What they?
No, like the
Oh,
yeah.
Jesus. Jeez. Like what? Is that some kind of slang that you're learning in the hospital, Greg?
swirly little lines there. Yeah.
So,
Hypnotic.
signs and symptoms of recent use can include drowsiness, slurred speech, lack of coordination, irritability, or changes in mood, problems concentrating or thinking clearly, memory problems, involuntary eye movements, lack of inhibition, slowed breathing and reduced blood pressure, falls or accidents, dizziness. And if it's the sleep ones, probably nightmares.
Yeah.
That's
And
one
no
thing common.
anxiety.
And sleepwalking. Isn't that another
Yes,
symptom
absolutely.
of those? Here's the thing, and this episode isn't hopefully going to turn into what drugs do I like and dislike. I've
Okay.
never been I've never been someone drawn to these types of things. So I always when I hear people that are like heavily into these depressants, the downers,
Mhm.
it always boggles my mind because I'm like, I don't understand that.
Seems
Why would
stressful.
you want that feeling? And it's not like I haven't like taken my friends like, you know, muscle like
Go on.
painkillers or muscle
Dude, be careful with the
relaxers.
muscle relaxers. Jeez.
And but this isn't like a thing that it's like fun to me. And some people really enjoy this stuff.
Well, look, I can really, the barbiturates, I think you would see a lot less of. Because that's also what's ironic here is the barbiturates and the benzos are both treatments for alcohol use. Benzos I can see. Benzos are used often to treat anxiety. So you have panic attacks, you want Xanax. You have anxiety all the time, you want, and you can see how someone would become addicted to that because it's like they keep it in their pocket, it's their safety net. What if I go out into the world and I have a panic attack? Well, don't worry about it. I got my Xanax, I'm gonna be fine. And then you become sort of addicted to it. And benzos and alcohol are both substances that once you get on, getting off them are really hard. So to the point where withdrawing from benzos and alcohol is life-threatening. Like it really is. It's very dangerous. So withdrawing from your opiates and cocaine and meth and the other stimulants, not life-threatening, although the use of them could be life-threatening, obviously.
What do Percocets fall under?
Percocets fall under opiates.
Okay. Just asking for a friend.
Are you just like reading the pills on your desk?
No, it's just that's one that I hear people take quite a bit.
Yes, Vicodin, Percocet, Oxy, all in the same family there.
Yeah. Okay, Greg.
Okay.
Next group.
Hey, tell us a little bit more though. Tell us about meth and cocaine, the good stuff.
So meth and cocaine would be stimulants, including like amphetamines, methylphenidate, which is like Ritalin, Concerta, amphetamine, dextroamphetamines like Adderall XR, Midasis. I'm not familiar with that one.
Yeah, Adderall. That's one you see a lot too, huh? Let's be honest. You see that a lot.
Like misuse of it, or
Misuse.
just
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Actually, I just heard a whole conversation the other day about people talking about misuse of Adderall and how much they love it. And I'm
People
like,
love it.
That's not great.
No.
So yeah, often used and misused in search of a high or to boost energy, to improve performance at work or school, or to lose weight or control appetite. Just a quick side note: when I was in college as an undergrad, that was something that was going around quite a bit. Was like passing around Adderalls, some for study reasons, but then others just because they were about to go to a party, so they would take an Adderall before drinking, which
I never had Adderall before.
not a good combination.
But I did take a Xanax before drinking once.
Yeah, that sounds like you just passed out.
It was not. Yeah, it was. It was not good.
That does not sound like a party,
ago.
Greg.
No, it wasn't.
That is the opposite of a party.
That was terrible.
You fell asleep and wet yourself, probably.
I don't know how to do drugs.
Yeah, so I mean, essentially people, from my understanding, people would take Adderall, you would crush it up, snort it, quick acting, or I guess you could just take it, less fun. And they would do alcohol and it exacerbates the symptoms, but also can be like kind of dangerous because if you normally can drink like 3 alcoholic drinks and be somewhat okay, if you have Adderall prior to that, you might feel like you had 6 or 7. And that can get dangerous, obviously. Yes. I'm sure there's a ton of other reasons why you shouldn't do that, but I think that's like a very like sneaky thing that like could cause somebody to just find themselves highly intoxicated.
I think that it could be very sneaky.
It's like jungle juice,
Oh yeah, jungle juice. I hadn't thought about that in a while.
You don't know how much alcohol is actually in it until you have a couple of cups. And you're like,
one time I went to a party. It was a jungle juice party, and my friend John Eric, I won't protect him. We were in a different state. We were in Virginia, and he runs into the car and he's like, "Go, go, 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 go!" And he had the jungle juice, all of it.
He stole the jungle juice from the party.
Stole the jungle juice from the jungle juice party. Yeah.
And then you and him just hung out alone with the jungle juice.
There's a couple other people.
You guys really don't know how to party.
We don't.
We're gonna leave this party of like 100 people, take the jungle juice, and then just party with like.
I've been to a party where they had the jungle juice in a bathtub. That's disgusting. I'm sorry.
Even if they bleached it first.
I mean, I feel like everyone would pass away at the end of the party. It's not a party anymore.
No. Oh, geez.
Yeah, I know. Give us some signs of symptoms of this, of these stimulants.
Feeling of happy excitement and too much confidence,
Sure.
increased alertness, increased energy and restlessness, behavior changes or aggression, rapid or rambling speech, larger than usual pupils, the black circles in the middle of the eyes, confusion, delusions, and hallucinations. Um, I just realized I read one of the previous ones wrong. Irritability, anxiety, or paranoia, changes in heart rate, blood pressure, and body temperature, nausea or vomiting, and weight loss, poor judgment, nasal congestion, and damage to the mucous membrane of the nose if snorting the drugs, mouth sores, gum disease, tooth decay from smoking drugs, like meth mouth.
Yeah.
I haven't actually heard that term. That's
You've never
horrible.
heard that term,
No,
huh?
meth mouth. Well, yeah. I mean, I understand what it means. Like
Like
teeth.
Faces of Meth. Have you seen that?
I know like the teeth and
Not good.
the scab picking and all that stuff. Insomnia, depression as the drug wears off.
So there you go. So there's a beautiful sort of representation of what we're talking about. These stimulants make you feel happy and excited, overconfident. Your brain's taking you back. It's taking you back down to Chinatown. But like it's taking you
What?
back, right? Back down to Chinatown. You never heard that saying? My father used to say it.
Down? I think
Not,
it's just to downtown.
not Chinatown.
I don't know.
Well, whatever. It's not important. But what the point is, it does make you, and it creates lack of sleep, which we all know sleep is wildly important. I'm gonna skip ahead to
Wait, hold on, Greg. It's kind of telling that
okay.
the fact that people have the crashes with just taking Adderall as prescribed, that if you take it not prescribed and abuse it, you're probably going to have a hard crash as well.
Yes.
Like, how many kids do you work with that by like 4 o'clock, their Adderall has kind of worn off and, you hear about them being irritable at home or just struggling. It's because it's worn off, right?
Yes. Yes.
And so if you take a large amount and then it wears off, you're going to crash. It's just like
You're
any
gonna crash
drug.
hard. But if you want to get out of that crash, obviously what the thing you have to do
Take more
is
Adderall.
and that sounds terrible when you're talking about Adderall, but if you're talking about alcohol, see, this is the crazy thing about alcohol. If you're talking about alcohol, it's almost recommended. You know what I mean?
Hair,
Like, oh, you feel like
yeah, hair of the dog.
exactly. So it's a strange alcohol gets a hard pass on a lot of these things. So Dave, I don't know if you can find your way down to opioids. Just can you take us through that, and then I'll talk about alcohol. And the reason why we're going to skip some of these in that are contained in the DSM, like hallucinogens and club drugs, is because we covered a lot of hallucinogens when we talked about like we covered what's important with them when we talked about mushrooms, and we also talked about ketamine, which is actually an anesthetic, but kind of the same conversations there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So opioids.
Opioids. All right. So
Big.
opioids are narcotic pain-killing drugs produced from opium or made synthetically. The class of drugs includes, among others, heroin, morphine, codeine, methadone, fentanyl, and oxycodone. Sometimes called the opioid epidemic, addiction to opioid prescription pain medicines has reached an alarming rate across the U.S. And yeah, it's just really bad. So, signs and symptoms of narcotic use and dependence can include a sense of feeling high, reduced sense of pain, agitation, drowsiness or sedation, slurred speech, problems with attention and memory, pupils that are smaller than usual, lack of awareness or inattention to surrounding people and things, problems with coordination, depression, confusion, constipation, runny nose or nose sores, and needle marks.
Yeah. It's in the emergency, we obviously people are you get a tox screen on everyone that walks in the door. And I can't imagine, like I can't even tell you the amount of people who are like just cocaine users and almost pass away. There's overdoses every single day. You don't see so there's an opioid crisis, right? So there's overdoses every single day, but though not all those people die. You don't hear about the people that come into the hospital. It's a very regular thing, and they're using cocaine or another drug and they have fentanyl in their system and they're shocked to hear it. And fentanyl is something that people are contending with that is new, relatively new, and extremely, extremely, extremely dangerous. But now, I was just surprised to me, Dave. I don't know how you feel about this. People are intentionally use fentanyl now. Like that's the move. Like they've moved on from other drugs to now fentanyl is becoming like a wildly popular drug, knowing how deadly it is. It's gotta feel pretty good.
You imagine, yeah, there must be something about it.
Hmm.
What are they moving? What is their intention? Do they think it's like getting them off the other drugs, or
Well,
because they
no,
feel like it's like the next step?
it's the same reason why you would use heroin, or any other sort of drug like this. I mean, I guess
Sure.
it's an escape, but you're addicted to it, or then there's there's countless stories of someone who got addicted to you know a regular like a Percocet, Vicodin, Oxy, like a normal painkiller, and were became dependent on it, like we talked about early on, and now they don't have access to that anymore because the doctor's not going to prescribe you that forever.
Right.
And there's a process to go through. It could be embarrassing. It could be really difficult. I mean, you got to taper off. It's not going to be easy. We talked about that. And people will seek that same high, and the replacement drugs tend to be drugs like heroin and now fentanyl, which you need less of, and it's probably less expensive.
Yeah. We're kind of missing one factor here that I think is sort of an important factor in this whole thing with addiction.
What's that?
There's definitely something about different personalities that
Mm.
make some gravitate to drugs and alcohol more than others, and also what causes some to get addicted while others can utilize these drugs recreationally and never become addicted.
Yeah, I'm sure we could like figure out an outline for that. Like there something it would be socioeconomic status would be on there, like upbringing, like whether or not you were abused, how your childhood was. I mean, access. There's tons of things that
But there's
would.
also specific personality
Yeah, I
trait,
know what you mean, like an
you
addictive
know,
personality. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
but it's also comes out in their behaviors towards others, even beyond the use.
You think you
And
have an addictive personality?
no, yes, but no. To some things, but not things that like I don't know. It's hard for me to say because there's so many reasons why I should,
Mm,
and but yet I've had the ability to withdraw from certain things that
interesting word.
possibly could have.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. It's hard for me to answer because I don't totally understand that within myself. And I've been able to stop doing things that I feel like I thought I was more addicted to than maybe I wasn't, than
Yeah.
maybe I was, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I think I'm reading between the lines. Maybe you have some dependents in your family, and
Yeah, for sure. And
yeah,
so that made me always assume.
yeah,
But I've also demonstrated at times, like periods of times where I thought I was really struggling with something, but then it was
Mhm.
like easier for me to stop than maybe it would be for others.
Right.
Or maybe that's
And I
just a,
think that that is definitely something that's true too. So people can become addicted to something, and their withdrawal is definitely different. You know, whether that be so, especially I see that with alcohol. And I want to talk about alcohol use disorder because before we get into it as a disorder, what do you think the number of drinks a week someone can have before it's considered concerning?
I was always under the impression it was like considered to be 2 to 3
A day.
a day.
Hmm.
Oh, not a week.
So a week, I mean, the number that they use is actually kind of high, but I think it's just because I'm getting older. The number is like 9, 10 for
Hmm.
men, 7 for women, which seems unfair. But
Hmm.
for a day for men and 3 for women that's like the peak of use. Like anything over that. So if you would meet diagnostic criteria numbers wise, if you were 5 a day, but 4 a day, you're okay. 4 a day seems like kind of a lot.
4 a day. Yeah, for sure.
But does that always seem like a lot to you? Because I remember younger me.
No, I still would know it's a lot.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I think I always would have thought it to be a lot but especially now that I'm like, please, I have three in a night, just like kind of a casual night, and I'm like, woo, tonight was a party. Two is
Yes.
like two is like okay for me. Three is like, all right, might have gone a little overboard tonight. But if I'm going out, it feels like it's different.
Okay. So there's this rule that people use um to maintain this is what they say is the healthiest way to drink alcohol. It's like 1 per hour. We all kind of know that. 2 per event or like social situation, and no more than 3 a day. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, that's healthy.
It's healthy, but I
I
know
would
there
bend it at times. There's
I would bend it
obviously
at times too. So
exceptions.
here's the thing, like 9 a week for me when I was in my 20s, I would probably laugh at that and be like, 9 a week, that doesn't seem very much. That seems kind of normal slash low.
Yeah, I would do nine in one night,
Yeah.
9+ in
Yeah.
one night.
So if I
Yeah.
drank 3 times in a week back then, I was looking at a much higher number than 9. So it does change as you get older, but it is, it does fall under the line of a disorder. And when we talk about an alcohol use disorder, we're talking about the same kind of thing, controlling your drinking, like being preoccupied with alcohol. How much are you continuing to do it even though it's causing problems,
Can
right?
I
Like
can
these
I
are the
just make
kinds
a
of things.
reflection
Yeah,
on
sure.
both of our perspectives of alcohol? So
Yeah,
here's the thing: we both obviously we didn't know each other when we were younger. Like
right.
when we were in our 20s, we didn't know each other, um, and even before that. But we're both around the same age.
Hmm.
We're both grew up in I would say probably I'm gonna make a guess, probably like similar demographic of neighborhoods. Um,
Maybe.
and I would say that probably alcohol was like the vice of choice in probably both of our social circles.
Very normal.
Very normal, but also like considered to be something like desired, like you want to go out and like it was like normal, proved, understood that like when you go out with your friends, you're going to go drink heavily and go do stuff and have fun. And that would be like what a night out for us would have looked like.
Yes.
And that wouldn't have been looked at as odd, weird, different, right?
No, not at all. And
But
it's
if you went
funny that
out
you
and
bring that
you
up.
like you went out
Yeah.
with a group of friends and you did some um Molly all night long, that would have been like, oh man,
Yeah, like
Greg's out of
what's
his
going on with
mind,
Greg, right?
right?
Spiraling. In
Right.
fact, I'll even go further than that. You might get shamed for doing the Molly. Fine. You might also get shamed for not drinking,
Yes.
which
Yeah.
is
Oh, Dave's sober tonight. Oh, what's wrong with
mm,
him? What's
even
what's his
even into
problem?
adulthood. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't drink. I hardly ever drink. I maybe drink 2 or 3 times a year. And that's the truth. Someone tells me that like they're sober, and this is just me being completely honest. Sometimes, like, and you know what? Actually, that's not true with me anymore. But there was a time in my life, and I'll be honest. If someone was like, "Hey, I'm sober," I'd be like, "I don't know if I trust that. I don't trust you. What's up with you? Like, you never have
You
one
had an
drink."
issue previously, is what I would have thought.
Right, right, right. So it's almost like you, yeah, alcohol is so like ingrained in us as a society. And then meanwhile, this is the drug that makes you feel if you're upset, it calms you down.
Yeah.
Or if you're shy, it picks you back up. It covers every neurotransmitter. It's like the most
But
it's
the thing
wild.
though, too, Greg, is like there's probably people that grew up in different communities, different cultures, different demographics that don't have that same experience that me and you had with alcohol. And maybe it's a different thing for them. Or maybe like they're hearing this and they're like, wow, actually you guys sound like you have some real drinking problems. um, so
Yeah.
this is our experience. And like we live like obviously just towns over. So it's not like we live in totally different worlds. So I can understand but like also we grew up in a time where we both were able to probably drink normally in bars at 18
Mhm.
because we of where we live and places we knew we could get around, which I don't know if people still have access to that these days. It was a very different time when we were 18 to get
Yes.
into bars and clubs. It was very lax. Driving under the influence was a very common thing, and unfortunately, I've seen the perils of that. I've
Absolutely.
lost my own friend to
Me too.
drinking and driving, and so like there's so much that we grew up with, and now I think it might be. I'm hoping people are having a different experience with alcohol, but unfortunately now there's so many other drugs that are just like looked at as way more casual than when we were younger.
Yeah. And the other interesting thing about alcohol is, well, for one thing, it handles most issues. Let's be honest. Like, that's why people have done it for so long. Like, if you had a bad day, you're gonna alcohol will help. If you're anxious, alcohol help. If you're depressed, alcohol help. Like, as long as you keep doing it. And then once the thing about alcohol is that's different, that separates it from other drugs, maybe besides benzos, but benzos don't aren't at the same level, is that like once you get sort of addicted to it, once your body sort of becomes dependent on it, it's got that like it's like that scene from the Bronx Tale. Like now you can't leave because limiting your alcohol use is something that's blown my mind. Like recently, I've seen seizures, I've seen code blues, I've seen people like literally like lose like pass away and be brought back um because they were trying to limit the amount of alcohol they take. That is scary. So if you're going to get off of alcohol, I mean you have to like present yourself to a hospital and be monitored and it has to be this like safe medical detox. It's just this wild situation um that puts you really at risk of death. Once it's got you, it's deadly to try to stop. That's crazy. So with other drugs, it's deadly to keep going.
And
With
you
alcohol, it's deadly to try to stop.
and it's like that. I'm just kind of now having my own thoughts here because so I have a neighbor who
Hmm.
is a very severe case of alcoholism. And at times, when he's in his really bad times, he's drinking hard alcohol. He doesn't leave the house ever. Um, and then there was a period of time where he was like getting beer, and a family member was dropping off beer, and I'm like literally next door to the guy, and it does impact me. I have ambulances, fire trucks coming. They used to come like almost on a weekly basis, it felt like. And there's a period of time where he had a family member dropping off beer, and I'm thinking they're like, you're enabling, like, what are you doing?
Hmm.
And we had a little encounter with one, and they said he'll die if he
He'll
doesn't
die.
drink.
Hmm.
And at first I was like, it, is that true? But like,
Yeah.
no, I guess it
It's
is.
true. Yeah.
It
And
is.
to the point where like there's a line where like you kind of have to watch where someone comes in and if they're like maybe they're a homeless person and they might have claimed that they want to detox and you kind of like give them the run up but they're gonna leave and then so you get to kind of approach them and be like, look, if you want to leave, you gotta leave now. Otherwise, you're gonna be in danger. You're starting to withdraw. If you want, because detox is completely voluntary in Rhode Island. So if you want detox, you have to accept it. You have to want it. And
What does that
you're
mean though for them? Like, how do they decipher that?
meaning what? Like, how do we decide if
If
someone
you,
can leave?
yeah, well, do they have to meet a criteria to detox? Do they?
Yes. So you do. You do have to meet a criteria. There's a CWA scale. There's a whole sort of operation. You have to want to do it. You have to be like earnest in your want to do it.
How do you
You
know
have
that? Like, how do you determine that?
so
Is
that's
another
what's
question.
tricky, right? Like that's
Yeah.
that's kind of tricky. But really, when it comes to detox, there's things that you can't fake. Like you can't, it's difficult to fake tremors. It's difficult to fake like, you know, history of medical seizures because it's going to be documented. There's things that put people more at risk. And if someone's vi like withdrawing, you're visibly sure at a certain point. Like some people might be able to fake it a little, like fake it a little bit, but you can see through it. There's like tricks to kind of like you learn to see if someone's faking it or not. And then, there's people who are genuinely withdrawing who aren't going to stay. So you have to let them leave in time to get their drinks. You know what I mean?
How would you ever feel if you had a friend show up at the hospital and was like struggling with this?
I mean, I would do whatever I could to make them understand, like, you may feel embarrassed and because I think that's a lot of things too when you see like we've had people come in who are like, oh, I'm a nurse. I know, like, I don't want to, this is a very embarrassing thing, but I need to stop, and I can't do it on my own. Every time I've tried to stop, I've had to keep going. So it's just something that I would try to make them feel as comfortable as possible, which is hard to do because then there's, the medical staff, God bless them, like we'd be lost without them. And it's hard to, and you know what? I'm not even going to say the medical staff, myself included. You do start to develop calluses when you see the same things over and over again, the same people over and over again. And like, but what if it's that one time where they're like really in danger, really want to change, It's almost like unwarranted sort of grace we have to give people, I think, to do the job right, which is, it's only human that at times we kind of fall short of that. But it's difficult work. It really is. It
It's
really is.
like
And that's become a
it
huge part of it.
it's like that thing where everybody complains that when certain like systems have all these like criterias or I'm trying to think of a good example, like social security,
Mhm.
when people apply for that, or disability, when people apply, it's almost a given you're going to get denied your first
Yeah.
time, and then you have to appeal it, and sometimes people have to appeal like 2 to 3 times, and everybody gets very frustrated with that process, and I myself get frustrated when I am trying to support
You're always
people with
flying for
it.
disability, dude.
I do support a lot of people who are,
Yeah. I
trying
know.
to
I
apply
know.
for it. And it's very
Absolutely.
frustrating, that whole process. But at the same time, it is because of the amount of people that also utilize certain systems
Absolutely.
inappropriately that cause them to have to screen so intensely.
It's a
and
very real thing.
and it sucks because during that whole process, all these processes take time. When someone's coming into the hospital and you're trying to figure out, is this person genuine, is it real, you're losing time with that individual.
You're losing time. And then if you let someone slip through the cracks who's just faking and they're just taking advantage of the system, and then maybe you've cost someone, maybe a bed for like a
Right.
genuinely suicidal person or
Yeah.
someone who's, you have to sort of try your best to weed that out because, and there's ways to do it. And it doesn't always feel great, but you just do your best. And I think that's it. Like we just gotta try to do your best and try to read people the best you can.
And Greg, like you and I both have opposite perspectives, but with same frustration when it comes to this whole conversation right here. I myself worked with people who would often try to get themselves removed from the setting they're in, and go to the hospital.
Hmm.
You're the evaluator that I would have to run into and say, in my personal opinion, or from
Hmm.
my history of working with this individual, they just wanted to escape their residential setting. They're stressed, they don't want to do these responsibilities, and they view the hospital as a vacation. So I'm just letting you know that, despite them knowing exactly what to say that's going to make them meet hospital criteria,
Hmm.
now you can do what you will with that information. You're on
Yes.
the other end now as the evaluator, meeting these people and feeling the
And
same
trying to figure it
frustration
out.
that I was
Yeah.
feeling. But
Yeah.
our concerns, our frustrations, all come from the same place, and it's exactly what you just said. Every time somebody passes through the system and utilizes these systems inappropriately, they're taking away resources from people who are really struggling with it. Like you said, a hospital bed, that's like
Yeah.
gold at
Gold.
some times of the year,
Hmm.
especially in those hot periods of the year where it's just like, for whatever reason, everybody's having a hard time and needs some sort of, recovery, recoup, help. And then you got people there that just want to like escape their living
I
situation
know.
for
I
a
know.
period
I
of
know. I
time.
know.
It's like, damn,
I know.
dude, come on.
Yeah, I know. I know it's a wild thing. But we do our best, right, Dave? It's not, this isn't perfect work. None of it is. And dude, this is honestly, thank you for like because this was, something that I was interested in talking about with you, and I think I'm glad we did. Hopefully, this is one of those subjects that people can get a little sensitive about, of course. And if you have issues with the way we talked about it, of course there's more for us to learn. I've been dealing with
Well,
like addiction work for not
I'm
forever.
not gonna lie. I mean, I feel like we only scratched the
Oh,
surface of this,
absolutely.
and I feel
Yeah.
like there's definitely more for us to do within the work of substance use here on this show. So hopefully we will take a few more episodes to, it doesn't have to be all in a row, but to cover some of the bases on there. Because like I said, I think there's more to talk about the types of people that tend to become more of the addictive personalities that we were talking about. And I think recovery is another thing that we should talk about at some point. But Greg, you did kind of share, and you kind of opened a door for me to bounce this back to you because you also
Mhm.
asked me. So addictive personality yourself. You kind of mentioned even maybe opening up a little bit about yourself. So I'm assuming there's something you want to share.
Well, I mean, it just that when we were talking about before, like had, is it irresponsible to talk about things that we kind of have no experience with? Of course not. But speaking from a point of view from like an alcohol use thing, I know that when I was much younger, but it came out of the Navy and was drinking all the time, I know that I definitely had met the criteria for alcohol use disorder. And I remember specifically um, that feeling where that feeling of withdrawal. Like I remember driving home, I hadn't drank in a few days, which was kind of like for me, and like it's like, how did it get here? I remember thinking like that in the car, and I remember having to stop because my hands were like sort of shaking on the steering wheel, and I was like, you know what? I think I have to stop and get a little nip, and I did, and I did that once in my life. I'm like, it's blaring in my mind. Um, from there, from that day, I kind of said, you know what? There's something that have changed here. I started seeing a therapist, started talking about I never had to go through any kind of like I never went through AA, I went never through anything like that. It wasn't that I was addicted to alcohol because I wasn't a daily drinker, right? I was a binge drinker, I will say that. Which for the criteria is anything over 5 drinks. I think a lot of people were binge drinkers, but maybe I went a little bit, further than that, of course. But I did, and I am vulnerable, I guess, my body to withdrawal. So that day I noticed like, ooh, this thing's got me. This has got a hold of me, and I don't like that feeling of kind of being at a loss of control and like, this thing almost impacting not just my behavior because I didn't really feel like it was like it was a weird time in my life, I guess. But I did feel uncomfortable with the idea that it's like I'm becoming dependent. It's a scary feeling,
Yeah.
you know?
And was this prior to COVID? This was like
Oh
a
yeah,
long time ago.
this was like probably 2008 or 9.
Okay. Now,
Yeah.
during COVID, did you start to struggle with it a little bit more because of just kind of boredom, more ability to
Well,
engage in
no,
it?
only because you and I were very busy,
Yeah.
right? I mean, why did you start to struggle with it more?
It definitely increased
Yeah.
my consumption for sure.
Uh, you
And
know,
it's funny because like sometimes you don't notice
I know.
the increase,
You know
but
what's
sometimes it feels intentional.
it's funny that you say that though, because we started this podcast how long ago?
Well, that's what I'm kind of like going back into because like I remember when we first started, we would
We would have
have
a drink.
a drink during
We would have a drink during it.
recording to
And that
like
was awesome.
get rid of the
I'm
nerves.
almost like, should we run that back?
And now
But I would have,
obviously now we don't. But you used to drink a pretty large
whiskey.
gin,
Yeah.
a whiskey, yeah.
Yeah. Well, pretty large whiskey. Yeah, I did. Um,
And even during grad school when we had to go strictly to camera Zoom classes,
I would be drinking.
I remember that there
Mhm.
would be some alcohol consumption.
Yeah,
And
whiskey would be I would skip right to the whiskey. So,
yeah, I was also
you
like,
know,
wow, Greg.
yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
just kidding. No, but
Yeah, no,
I
look,
just things I think back to about like, times
isn't it funny though how
where it
alcohol is that way?
increases.
I could have literally been in front of a mental health, like all professionals, just engaging in my addiction. Right.
And no one would have been the
And
wiser.
no, and everyone's like, oh, he's having a drink, good for him. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like
Oh
it's
yeah, yeah.
alcohol,
Nobody
alcohol's
puts
a
judgment
wild
on it.
thing.
Yeah.
Alcohol's a wild thing that way. But if I was like, if my head went down and I was like snoring lines off my computer, I'd probably, we got to get this guy out of here. You know what I mean?
So the thing for me is growing up, knowing that there's like some family history of it,
Hmm.
also my mom's attitude towards it was very much like you know, just very fearful that I would also have
Mm.
issue with it. But I also engaged in it, obviously. But it was always on the forefront of my mind that like, oh, I could get really bad with this, so I don't want that, obviously.
Okay.
So I always felt like it was like something that
You're
shame,
cognizant of it.
but
You
it
had
also
a
was like
break
wrapped
then.
up in shame, which
Um,
I don't love, but also helps like
dude, shame's there for a reason.
restrict.
It's a useful feeling at
You talk
times.
about the Catholic guilt all the time, right? It's like kind of like that. It almost like starts to mold your behavior slightly because you're thinking about it more. And like I said, shame isn't a great feeling, but if you're shameful of something, you probably are going to want to like avoid it a
Yeah, it's
little
not a
bit.
great feeling, but it's a feeling actually. This is shame's a great topic, boy. We gotta get off here because we're gonna keep coming up with things.
Yeah.
But shame is a feeling I think more people should have. Let's just put it that way.
I just
Let's
have
just put it.
one last point of a reason why that I feel is almost like my body's refusal to become addicted to alcohol. I get the worst hangovers ever.
Now we do. Now
No, I
forget it.
always have. I
Oh,
always
okay,
have.
okay.
Even as a younger person, I would throw up very easy. I would just be really sick to the whole next day. I wouldn't be able to drink the next day if I wanted to on certain
Yeah.
occasions, most occasions when I
You
would
know
binge
what?
drink.
I have a similar sort of so that thing I never understood. Like, you know, when the people are like, I'll just drink the next day and feel better.
Yeah.
That's
Oh
the
no.
last thing I wanted to
I
do.
could never do
It's the
that.
last thing I wanted to do.
I would not talk to people the whole next day. That would be, not
Hmm.
leaving my house.
Embarrassing.
So, yep.
Hmm. Shame. There it is.
Shame.
Yeah, it's because my dad was a big drinker, my mom wasn't. And that's just the way it was. Everyone on my dad's side.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I think there's some cultural aspects to it. I think
Sure.
there's some community, depending on what like areas you live in. There's all these different
Yeah, you go to my
factors
grandmother's
that,
house, get him a beer, get him a beer, get him a
yeah,
beer.
right.
I'd be 16 years old, get him a beer, you know? Um, whatever, it is what it is. But Dave, this was great, and I appreciate that. And you know, we got a little vulnerable here, and hopefully, you know, the listeners can
Yeah,
identify, and hopefully that makes them a little more comfortable too.
and thanks to everybody who has joined the Patreon. That group is, slowly building, and it's so awesome to see. I love
Thanks
it.
to Annie, a new paid
Yes,
member. Thank you very much. I mean,
yes.
your mug is on the way it'll be there before
Mm.
2027, we promise you.
Your mug. And then we just recently had a few free members add on. We got Patricia, it looks like, Jessica, Curlin. I could be wrong the way I said that. Noah and Peter. I think those are the last ones since our last member that joined was Mikey B, who I think
Mikey B's the man.
mentioned last episode as well.
Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, no, we're so grateful to everybody that's joined. This little group and community is building slowly but surely. And yeah, we hope to make it as interactive as possible. So thank you.
All right, Dave.
Okay.
Um, that's
All
it for
right.
us tonight.
Okay.
Oh,
So
rate
yeah,
and review.
rate and review. We would love that. And
Wherever.
yeah, we'll see you guys next week. Everybody have a great night. We'll talk to you later. Peace out. Be safe.